What's up, Terrifics? Welcome back. This is your live continuing coverage of NAB 2016 here at the Las Vegas Convention Center in Las Vegas, Nevada on BeTerrific, presented by Data Video. I'm Michael Artsis. You are the Terrifics. You make BeTerrific special. We got Canon in the house.
Whoa.
How you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic. The show's been great. The booth is pretty amazing with what got showed this year, so we're really excited.
Excellent. That's Ken. This is Wasim.
Lots of great new products out there to talk about from us, so very exciting show for us.
You guys are like ready to go. I love it. At BeTerrific TV on all social media. Welcome to our home. This is our home. And we welcome you. We love Canon. We have the same colors, right? BeTerrific
Yeah.
red and Canon red.
Love the booth. I mean,
Thank
it's really
you.
exciting, right in the middle of the show floor. It looks fantastic.
We got to get Scott to take some pictures of you guys with the red carpet and everything. It'll be really good. Welcome
Make
to
us
the red
feel
carpet.
like little celebrities
There you
here.
Yeah, you guys are, though. You're rock stars. And I got to say hello to Lou, too. Lou and Scott take good care of us, make sure that you guys show up. Wonderful guys. Okay, so let's start with the cinema series. I heard that a C500 was in space and is in the booth.
Yeah, we had a C500 fly in space over the last few years. It was part of a bigger project, and we're actually showing it in our 4K theater on a Canon projector.
Wow.
You can come see all the footage from space. It's quite amazing.
And then you guys are introducing 8K.
Yeah, we started out with Canon Expo this year where we showed some of our future technology. So 8K is kind of this thing. Right now it's not the home, it's not going to be your new TV, but there's some really cool things you can do with it. So one thing we're showing
That's
is...
exactly what I was going to ask you, because I was going to say,
Yeah.
look, we haven't really mastered 4K yet. Here's the deal. You need a ton of storage and infrastructure for it. We have no delivery method for it really yet. And why do we need 8K already? But I'm listening, because that's what I want to know.
Sure, I mean, when people hear 8K, 4K, and all that stuff, they think immediately to the TVs or to the home theaters or the actual movie theaters out there. But what we sometimes forget to think about is all those big giant billboards out there, the rides at amusement parks, this, the content creation going forward. Because right now 2K content creation is shot in 4K, so they have that extra movement. When 4K becomes the new norm, 8K might be the new acquisition format. So we're showing that it can be done now. We're not saying this is the thing that's got to go right out to your home, but there's some cool applications of it. So from theme park rides to...
Sure, billboards. And you talk about now, just Vegas is a great example. You walk around, everything is a display. Everything is digital signage. So if that's what you're going to do, you want the best resolution, and everybody needs video. The guys who are coming on next are from D3, and that's all they do. They do this 80% of the signs in Times Square.
So we should talk to those guys.
You got to talk to them. They need 8K. I also thought of Data Video makes the KMU 100. Okay, and the KMU 100 takes a 4K signal in and splits the 4K signal out 4 ways, and you get 4 1080 signals, but you can move with a joystick the signal around. So maybe with 8K, instead of getting 1080, you could get 4K that way.
Right, and that's something that was going on with 4K already. If you ever see the digital zooms that happen at sports events where they're looking in on the guy's foot, those special applications are going to come first. So that it's really kind of a neat application.
When's the camera available? Is this something that we're showing for 2 years out, or is there something
No,
that's
this is
available
like
now?
a prototype camera.
Yeah.
So what we have in the booth for the 8K is it's a modified C series body that has its own decoder on the back for 8K and a bunch of output. So it's actually really neat. If you saw it, they built this custom thing. It's got 4 Odyssey recorders on the back
Wow.
of it, so it can 4K quadrants.
And the sensor is an 8K sensor.
It's an 8K sensor,
Wow.
and it's actually an 8K lens, which is kind of an unusual feat.
Wow.
So,
And that is an unusual feat. And what about, how many fans do you have on this camera?
fans, I don't know. There's probably quite a few to cool that thing down.
All right, very cool. And then the C500, we're in our second version now, about to be? Or
No, we're still in our first version of the C500.
Okay.
We've pretty recently released the C300 Mark II.
Mark II, which has 4K recording internally.
Yes, and the new XF codec, which is an AVC codec. One of the interesting things we just did at the show is we just actually released a firmware update, and one of the things on that firmware was the new Canon Log 3. And
Okay.
what happened is...
I've heard that Canon Log 3 has a lot more dynamic range and a lot more flexibility, and is easier to use in a lighter codec than Canon Log 2 and 1.
Yeah, well, Canon Log 2, when it was designed for this camera, was to encompass the whole 15 stops of dynamic
Sure.
range of the camera. So that was designed really for post houses, people who wanted to do that heavy-end post and then have the most ability to dig into the darks, get the best out of their images. But not everyone has the opportunity to work that way. So people who have to work quicker, we came out with Canon Log 2. Canon Log 2 It's an easier, lighter log to work with, but still preserves most of that dynamic range. So you sacrifice a little bit, maybe a half stop or so, to maybe it goes from 15 to 14 and a half stops, but it makes it easier, a quicker workflow for people. So it's to balance it out, gives you the choice of what you want to go with.
Very nice. And you've got the C100 Mark II as well.
Yeah, the C100 Mark II is out, and we actually, one thing we've been working on recently is to try to make it easier for people to get out and shoot. So we have a nice kit that came out with that includes a nice Sennheiser microphone. It has a DJI Ronin M stabilizer unit.
Wow.
A custom case from SKB, all nice foam.
Look at you guys. Wow, I like that. I like Canon teaming up with other companies. Most major companies like Canon don't. You got to use your equipment, or if you do something else, you got to buy it after the fact. I like that you've kitted that together. How much does that kit go for?
It's $6,999.
That's it?
That's it.
Are you serious?
I am serious.
Wow. 2 years ago, the camera would have been that price. The Ronin would have been that price, and the microphone, well, wouldn't have been that price, but still would have cost a pretty penny. All right, Wasim, what are we talking about DSLR-wise? Last I left off, we had the 5D Mark III and a 7D Mark II.
Well, we've gotten a lot of things since the 5D Mark III and the 7D Mark II. I guess I'll start with what came right after that. We had the 5DS and 5DSR, which we launched last year, which were the 50 megapixel cameras in a body that's very similar to the 5D3.
But video was, people complained about the fact that you could only do 30 frames a second on video. Is that correct?
Well, on the newer cameras coming out, which is the ones we have here, NAB, you're actually seeing higher frame rates. So, for instance, we have the 80D, which is now 60 frames per second at 1080p. So that's faster than the 30 that was on the 70D. And if you are interested in 4K on the DSLR side, we have the new 1DX Mark II, which can do 60p at 4K, which is higher spec than a lot of cameras out there, some of our own even. And we've also got full HD at 120p on that camera.
Wow.
So you're starting to see these higher frame rates trickle into the DSLRs now.
Now, I love the 1DX, and I was a big fan of the 1DC. I just thought they're great cameras, so now we've got a 1DX which does 4K.
Yes, the 1DX Mark II does 4K. And one of the things that I really love about it is that it incorporates a lot of technologies you've seen before, like our dual pixel CMOS AF and a touchscreen. So, focus is so important in 4K, right? If it's not in focus, you're really going to notice it. With dual pixel CMOS AF on a full frame sensor for the first time, you can just tap and nail the focus right away because it's on sensor. Each pixel is split to do focus and imaging.
That's pretty spectacular, and you can rack the focus pretty easily with that, and I've seen this in action. It's really impressive. It started, believe it or not, on a prosumer camera on the 70D. So what about now, what about the codec? What are we recording? Is it still motion JPEG?
Yes, so this camera, the 4K on the 1DX Mark II is a motion JPEG codec. So you're looking at, with the 60p, roughly 800 megabits per second. But one of the reasons we went that route is this camera is designed to be like the no compromise stills camera.
Love it.
Everything stills thrown at it that you can do. But we're recognizing the need that some journalists who are, maybe you work for a newspaper and they're saying, they're cutting back on resources, you're shooting video and photos. Motion JPEG allows you to very easily pull out a 8.8 megapixel frame grab in the camera.
It's shooting raw video, but as a motion JPEG, so that you can pull every frame as a JPEG. So you can pull out a frame. People love doing it. That was something that Red kind of pioneered, and you guys have started to do, and I love it. That's great, and you double duty. I mean, the Diamond Brothers are really amazing cinematographers, and they do that all the time. They shoot for Fila, and they'll make a billboard from a still from what they're shooting. So it's pretty impressive, and it's pretty important. You limited it to journalists, which I love. I'm a journalist, but the reality is that a lot of modeling and photo shoots are now having to shoot video too, and then like guys like the Diamond Brothers are asked to shoot photos too. So it really is interesting. I like that. How much is that camera going for?
So that camera is $5,999 for the body only.
Sure.
But
that's a very low price for that camera.
Yeah, it's actually lower than the original 1DX was at launch by about $700 or $800. And then the other cool part now is right now we're offering a package at the same price, $5,999, where you can get a CFast card and a CFast reader, and that's the new memory format we're using in
800
there.
megabits a second. You're going to have a CFast card.
And it's not just for that. If you're a still photographer, having that CFast card, you can get unlimited JPEG bursts. Like I walked around the office.
What do you mean unlimited? See, that's what I was going to ask you. How many frames per second and what's the burst for? I was going to go into photos for a second.
Yeah.
So you're telling me unlimited.
So we have a CFast and a CF card.
You can
slot
just
in there,
you can just keep the motor going until you run out of memory.
14 frames per second until the card fills up. I walked around the office for 3.5 minutes and held the button down and annoyed everybody. And I only stopped because my finger got tired.
Wow,
And
that's pretty
JPEG.
impressive.
Yeah,
very, very impressive.
So.
I like what you guys are doing. I think it's pretty awesome. We have a C500. We love it. And
that's great.
Yeah, we can't wait to
We
see
also
more
got
stuff.
lenses and displays and a whole bunch of other stuff going on.
Right.
as
Oh,
well.
yeah. I forgot. I almost forgot about that. You guys have 4K displays. I guess you have an 8K display now, maybe too.
Yeah, we have we have a prototype
Right.
55-inch 8K display.
But your production displays are really spectacular, and especially when you can color correct on them and add LUTs. I saw that at Cinegear.
Yeah, and we keep updating them, and we have new firmwares on them. So we have two models right now, a 30-inch and a 24-inch.
Yep.
Our 24-inch monitor, as well as now can take not only Canon RAW, but can also do ARRI as well. So they're fantastic. 4K monitors, multiple inputs. We have waveform monitors, vector scopes, everything you need to see on the screen. It's pretty impressive. You can do CDLs. It's ASUS compatible.
Wow. Very, very cool. And ASUS compatible is very important.
HDR stuff coming.
You can plug in an Atomos, by the way, to any of these cameras and get some HDR. But you guys, I imagine, are going to have some HDR coming down the line. Certainly in the monitors, you'll be able to add as a LUT.
Yeah, I mean, the cameras are already HDR. They're
Yeah.
15 stops. They're
Right.
in that range.
HDR
and now
is
it's just
unbelievable,
Yeah.
by the way. It's really
it's
insane.
really starting
Yeah.
to solidify.
And you guys have a ton of great lenses. You just announced a new lens at NAB.
Yeah.
It's a servo zoom lens, right?
Yeah, it's actually a very interesting lens.
At a
It's
reasonable price, because most times you're at $30,000, $40,000, $60,000. Now you're at like $5,000.
Yeah, it's a fantastic lens. I mean, it's actually a new series, which is kind of neat.
Very cool.
So it's our compact servo series, and what we saw is that there were a lot of DSLR users, a lot of C100 users, and a lot of Red, and anyone that has an EF lens mount using EF lenses. And EF lenses were designed for still, and they had a certain price category that people really liked, but they weren't the easiest to work with for cinema motion picture imaging. So with this lens, is an 18 to 80. It's similar if you were to put like, say, a 24-105 focal length,
Sure.
which is a very popular lens for us. But the best thing about it is the cinema lens. So where the Cine servos or higher end lenses start way up there in the tens of thousands, this is a $5,500 lens, and it has a $500 accessory that gives you the ability to make it a servo.
And it's quiet, it operates quiet, and it's a constant f-stop.
Yeah, it's a T4.
T-stop.
Yeah, T-stop. So it's 4.4 straight through.
Cool.
It's image stabilized. It's image stabilized for motion, not still, which means you have different settings for, say, high frequency, like on a car,
Sure.
versus someone walking, which is a lower
Wow.
frequency vibration.
Great. This is exciting. Very
Lots of
exciting stuff.
excitement.
Thank you. Finally, thank you. On behalf of all the cinematographers out there, thank you. Especially because the EF mounts on all sorts of stuff, especially with adapters, but even, there are other companies that sell their camera with EF mounts.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, thank you for coming on. You guys were awesome. That's Ken, Wasim,
Thank you.
Canon. We'll be back with a whole lot more right after this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay with us.